Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are with the owner of Inner Balance Reiki, Maryann Lonergan, joining us from Rocky Hill, Connecticut to talk more about all her Reiki treatment sessions, as well as her as a teacher. And we're so excited to talk more also about the theta healing, sound healing, and all that she could do to help you with. First and foremost, welcome to the show today. How are you, Maryann?
Thanks so much. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good weather today, right? You're not too far from us.
It is. It's supposed to be into the 80s today.
I know. Well, that's beautiful. I'm feeling good. Inner Balance Reiki, that's the website. Could you share how we can contact you? Is there a phone number or a social media page? And
Yes,
again, the
ma'am.
website, Inner Balance Reiki, spelled REIKI.com.
Correct. Cell phone is my business number, 860-604-2807. I'm on Facebook, also Inner Balance Reiki, and also on Instagram, Inner Balance
Perfect.
Reiki.
All right. Well, thank you. Please introduce yourself to our listeners to start.
Well, you just introduced me, but yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking of it. We were away for a couple of weeks and just got back, and I just realized May 1st was my 15-year anniversary of starting the business. I've been involved with Reiki since about 2006, actually, though. So I didn't start my business up until 2009, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey. It's interesting. When my mom had Alzheimer's, and she was getting towards the end of things in 2006, and we had her in an assisted living, locked environment. And when I was visiting her one day, one of her caregivers said to me, "You really ought to think about learning about Reiki." And I went, "No." And
Well,
she
did you know
said,
what it was? Because some of our listeners might not even know what Reiki is.
"Yeah,
Did you know at the
yeah."
time?
I knew it was some kind of energy work. I didn't know much else about it. And she said, "Why wouldn't you be interested?" She says, "It's wonderful for those with Alzheimer's and dementia." My mom had Alzheimer's. And so I said, well, I said two reasons. I said, number one, I'm a practicing Roman Catholic, and the church doesn't like those types of things. And number two, I said, it's just weird, and I don't do that weird stuff. So now I teach it. So things have changed over the years. Um, I learned more about it. So many people started saying to me, "Why are you not involved with Reiki?" That I figured, okay, it's either God, the universe, my higher self talking to me, and I've learned to pay attention. And when I took the course, when I took the first class, I went to my mom's place, and she was very anxious that night. And I said, "All right, let's see what this Reiki stuff can do." And I placed my hands on her arm, and in about a minute, she was totally calm. And I thought, all right, this is something. I need to pay attention. And then after she passed in the hospice floor of the local hospital, I found out that they were looking for Reiki volunteers. So I decided to volunteer, and I volunteered there for like 3 years in the evenings, even though I was still working at my corporate job. And I could see people becoming so much more relaxed, people not having their pain or lessened pain. So I thought, wow, this is powerful and it's beautiful. And so it is energy work. It's about balancing the energy centers of the body, which causes the body to relax, which helps with pain relief and stress relief. And it kind of allows the body to almost reset. Because, when we're holding stress, our body's not at its normal functioning level. It's tightened in different areas of the body. So when we get to the point where we can truly relax, and then the energy body and the physical body work well together, and it's just a much healthier situation.
Well, hold on here. Back up a
Okay.
sec. So, what year was this when you learned about the Reiki, when you were helping your mom, by the way?
2007.
Oh my goodness. See, my mom
Uh,
was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and she was going to the hospital. This was like 8 years ago. And that's when I discovered Reiki. She ended up passing before we could even take advantage of this modality. But I was like shocked to see it on like the Columbia Presbyterian New York City Hospital website. I was like, oh, this, and that's when I learned about it. And then I heard so much about it and how it helps so many. So this is exciting to know that there's something out there. Medicine has a place, but holistic medicine has a place, and
they
all of
work well
this.
together. I mean, I would never tell someone go to a Reiki practitioner or an energy worker instead of a medical
Yeah.
provider, but they work well together. And even when I was volunteering at the hospital, they had a whole routine for us where we closed the door, put a little sign on the outside, raise the bed, undo the phone, give the person a session. And I was at the hospital one day. There's this little knock on the door, and I thought,
Mm.
okay, I have a sign out there. And I opened the door, and this short man said, "Hi, I am Dr. Reardon. Do you mind if I come and see my patient?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm just a Reiki volunteer. Definitely come on in." And I heard him talking to his patient saying, how the surgery had gone, whatever. And he said, "And she is going to be your new best friend because Reiki is going to be wonderful for you." And I thought, medical provider saying that, that is really nice. So
Wow.
it's a good thing. So have
Oh,
you received Reiki?
yes, I have tried it before. And
Okay.
I have stomach issues and doctors can't fix it. No one's been able to fix it, but I've tried that as well. And for me, it didn't work. But again, everybody has their own thing. But I just was born with some genetic disorder and I have some stomach issues. So can't help everyone maybe, or just, not me
Oh,
that time. But I've
okay.
only done it like 3 times.
So I need to share something with you.
Sure, sure.
'Cause Reiki works close proximity and it works at a distance. So this morning, my husband saw me sitting there with my pendulum. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm checking Jill's chakras." I said, just before
No. Did you feel some? Did you see it? Do you sense it?
your third, which is interesting, that's stomach, and your throat were both blocked. And I thought, is it kind of uh, not a nice thing for me to send her some
Of
Reiki?
Thank
I
you.
truly
You have my
believe
permission. Thank you. Oh
I
my
did.
gosh.
I opened your chakras this morning. It was kind of a
And
neat thing.
and I had strep throat last week.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? The other thing I thought was, wait, she's going to be talking to me.
And I
She needs her,
talk.
her throat open. She needs her throat open. So I opened
Wow.
it because I truly believe some Reiki providers say you need to always obtain permission to provide Reiki to anybody. And then there are others like myself who say, if you are not going to be open to Reiki, you're not going to be open to Reiki, period. That's it. Now, whether I send it to you from distance or do it close up. And so if you're open to it, which you obviously were, I
Mm-hmm.
sent some Reiki, 3 and 5 were open. So you were balanced when I finished with you this morning.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for that. Wow.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. And could you just share for our listeners? You mentioned the third. How many chakras are there? Is
Oh,
there
so
seven main, or but there's more?
yeah, seven main chakras, and so we all have these energy system. They are like little generators. They're spinning balls of energy that some people can see. I don't have that ability, but they are related to different parts of the body and different aspects of our lives. So the first one is at the base of the spine.
Okay.
First chakra is about safety, survival, and security, related to bones and the skeletal system. Second is about at the abdomen, and that
Okay.
is related to everything that's in the abdomen. So it's your intestines, your sexual and reproductive organs, urinary tract, bladder, all of that. And also, it's about your emotions very
Yeah.
much. There are more things you could learn about the chakras than this little bit I'm sharing, but these are the primary pieces that I've picked up over the years that I've been working with it. So third is at the solar plexus. That's what I was mentioning about you. That's about your sense of self. So everything in this area. So the stomach, the kidneys, the liver, pancreas, all of that is located in that area. But it's also about your sense of self. So if you've got something changing in your life, shifting, whether you're moving to a new location, getting a new job, getting married, getting divorced, having a baby, big life events, sometimes that blocks up. Fourth is the heart, lungs, blood flow, and it's about love and relationships. Fifth is at the throat. It's about speaking your truth, and it is about the throat, the thyroid, the
Okay.
ears, the teeth.
Oh.
Six is the center of the forehead. Am I freezing up on you?
Yep. Yeah. See, I'm like,
About
yeah. Mhm.
it's about vision and insight, but it's about connecting to your higher self. And it is so much about the brain. So I find people who are just worrying, churning things over and not stopping thinking about something. They're obsessing about something. And people with bad headaches or migraines, sixth chakra is blocked sometimes. And then seventh is the crown of the head, which is about your, and we used to say more spiritual connection, and now we just say connectedness because people are connected to lots of things. People believe in a God, some people believe in something else, spirit, energy, source. And so those are the seven energy centers.
Okay.
And
All right.
I
Thank you
usually
for.
focus on those. You're welcome.
Okay. Well,
Teaching
for
is my thing.
and that's also you're also a teacher. So are you now? How do I describe this? Because there's Reiki practitioners, Reiki masters. What are you? Would you mind sharing how that
Reiki
works?
master teacher. Yeah, Reiki master teacher.
Impressive.
So, yeah, I learned level one, and then I saw that it was great. And I was working at the hospital, so I learned level two. You just learn more techniques and some symbols that are optional to use. And then I opened my practice when I was at level two. And then I started hearing people say they really wanted to learn. So I went to the next level, which was an advanced level. And then finally, I became a teacher. And then, so I'd been teaching for several years. I absolutely love it. When I was young, I told my dad I wanted to be a teacher, and he said, absolutely not. I said, what? He goes, they don't make enough money. You're going into the business world. So put that all on hold. And so I did. I, joined corporate.
Hello, hello. You are breaking up, my dear. Can you hear our guest, Maryann? Maryann Lonergan joining us here, the owner of
Don't
Inner
really.
Balance Reiki. And you just froze for a good 10 seconds,
I
sweetheart.
figured I did.
I'm
Sorry about
so
it.
sorry.
It's okay. I was talking about my dad not wanting me to be a teacher. I don't know if that came through.
Nope, I
Maybe
didn't
not.
hear that. I'm sorry. Please
All right.
repeat that.
It's okay. So when I was young, I wanted to be a teacher, and my dad said, "Absolutely not. You're going into the corporate world. Teachers don't make enough money." And it's like, okay. So I did, and as I became, more advanced in Reiki, I realized I really wanted to teach it. It's my favorite thing to do. It's cute. I've told some people, in the mornings when I know I'm going to get up and have a class, my husband can't stand it. Sometimes I get up and go, "Whoa, it's teaching day. It's a class day. It's going to be great." Um, I just love it. Exposing people to what Reiki is, seeing them blossom.
Hmm.
Many of my students have opened up their own practices and are doing great, doing things beyond what I ever got involved in or taught them. I just think that's a wonderful thing. So I offer classes all year long, all levels. And a few years ago, I had kept hearing about another type of Reiki. So the Reiki that most people know about is Usui. So Mikao Usui in Japan, back in the early 1900s, received this gift of Reiki. And then it was brought over here by another woman, Mrs. Takada, from Hawaii. And so then it spread through the U.S. But not long ago, William Rand, who is another Reiki guru of sorts, I get all my training materials from his organization, the International Center for Reiki Training out in the Midwest. And he intuited something called Holy Fire Reiki. And so I learned that as well. And so now I teach that. I teach Corona Reiki. So people are expanding their knowledge of all these bits and pieces. And I think we have to grow with things. I think if I just stayed doing what I was doing in the beginning, that's a little bit too stagnant.
Hmm.
And you mentioned theta. So I learned some about theta healing, which is really bringing someone into a theta brainwave state so they could be in a better position for receiving and accepting the healing that they get and the relaxation. And more recently, I took a class in sound healing. So I provide some sound as well, all vibrational stuff. It all kind of blends together really well.
Now, let me ask you this. When, you're working with someone like me here, I'm virtual. So you're basically in Connecticut, you can work with people all over from the teaching, from mentoring, and there's also a 12-step program I want to talk about. And also just for the basics, for people who want to know the benefits of Reiki. Not everybody may know all that it can do. I heard so many things. Could you share some of that with us?
Benefits, I say to people mostly the biggest benefit is relaxation. No matter who comes to me, even if they're very skeptical about what is this energy thing you're going to do, and I don't know, everybody minimally says that they feel much more relaxed at the end of a Reiki session than when they began. But there are techniques for working with a client who may be experiencing chronic or just at the moment physical pain, to actually work with them to energetically remove the pain from the body. I've seen some really neat things happen. But you can also use it to help to remove an emotional pain that's going on with them. So there are some interesting techniques that we can use. And yes, I can work on somebody remotely, or I can work on them right in front of me. I prefer to work with people in person when I'm doing classes. But even just in between, just before you and I got online, I had a person who lives a few towns over, and she prefers a remote session because it just works well in her schedule. And she's always shooting me texts saying, "You got anything on Friday morning? You got anything on Monday morning?" So we'll just jump on my Zoom. And so when you're working with somebody on Zoom, you actually can see them, like I can see you physically. I can place my hands up and send Reiki to you that way, or I can use my own image of you in front of me to send you the Reiki, just as I checked your chakras without even having you in my view.
That's so
Um,
cool.
during the pandemic, there was something that was really neat that happened. People kept saying to me, "Oh, you need to do these Facebook Live sessions," and I was like, "I don't know about that." And when the pandemic hit, I thought, you know what? We're so isolated. People are so in their own little silos. And so I started offering Monday through Friday mornings. I would jump on for a half hour, and I would start a session by talking about something. And then I would just provide a Reiki session. And so those are still all sitting out on my Inner Balance Reiki Facebook page. And I actually had someone the other day say, I go to these every morning still, and I'm finding that they really are helpful. So you receive even that way. It's interesting.
Wow. And, people say we have chronic pain, right? That this can help someone having chronic headaches. I heard people with cystic fibrosis and muscular issues that this can help. I have a friend whose daughter and who just raves by these sessions. And it's fascinating because some people say, well, how does it work? And how does it work? It's energy, right? It's hard to explain.
It's energy, and I've heard even practitioners say other things, but the reality is a Reiki practitioner connects to the source, and that's where we get the energy from. When I teach my classes, I basically say to my students, what do you connect to? What is it? Do you believe in a God? Do you believe in a source? Do you believe in universal love and energy? Whatever it is for you, that's what you connect to. And you draw that energy in and through you into the person that you're working on. So the thing about Reiki is you really don't have to have a wonderful understanding of anatomy. You really don't have to have a great understanding of what's going on with the person, even because the energy will do what it's meant to do. It connects with their higher self, flows through you. You allow yourself as a practitioner to just be an open conduit to allow that energy to flow through, and then they receive what they are meant to receive. And it works out beautifully that way. Sometimes people will say to me, well, when you start working with the energy, a long time when you start doing it for many days in a row, let's say, you start to really sense that energy, you intuit that energy. I use a pendulum to check people's chakras because it's a visual for them to be able to see what I see, but I don't need a pendulum. I can
Yeah.
just place my hands over them and I feel the spin of the energy. And I feel the spin of the energy when it's blocked and then when it opens up again. So you just get more connected to it, you sense more. And many of my students have become much more intuitive than I. And some of them are mediums too. I'm not a medium. I'm just a Reiki practitioner that loves doing what I do. But some of them can see and hear things beyond. But that's not necessarily Reiki. That is beyond Reiki.
Wow. But you also like an intuitive too, or no? I mean,
Minimally, but yeah, I am intuitive. I remember there was this one gentleman, his niece, or I forget if it was a niece or daughter, had sent him in to me for a session, and he had been dealing with some different issues, and I didn't realize he had had some loss. And he came
ooh, hello,
in with a
hello.
red sweatshirt on. He was laying on the table, and I didn't say a word to him, but as I was working on him, whoop, I'm frozen again,
There you are. Yeah.
back again. Okay,
Hello, hello.
so he had a red.
Ah,
I don't. This must be mine, huh? Must
yes,
be
it's
mine.
okay. It's okay. It happens.
Um, So while I was working on him, I found out just before I started to work on him that his son had died in a motorcycle accident.
Ah,
And while I was working on him, I had this sense of a young man in a red hoodie sweatshirt. And I asked him, I said, "Can you just let your dad know you're here if that's who you are?" And I just kept
yeah.
on going with the session. And at the end of the session, I told the man, and he started to get tears in his eyes. And he said, and he showed me it was a hoodie he had on. I didn't realize that. He said, "This is his sweatshirt." He says, "And
Wow.
while you were working on me, I heard, Dad, Dad."
Ah,
And I thought, okay, doesn't always happen like that, but you never, when you're open to things, you can sense things. I mean, I do believe that, our loved ones who've passed are connected to us even afterwards.
yeah.
So the fact that they're present, I'm not surprised at.
Amazing. And you also wrote an article that I was reading before for Reiki and hospice
Ah,
work. Could you share
yeah,
about that? That was the Reiki News Magazine?
yeah, it was. It's funny because when it came to hospice, my mom passed in hospice,
Mm.
and I thought they were wonderful. But even when I volunteered at the hospital, I hardly ever went to the hospice floor. And all of a sudden, a few years ago, a woman contacted me, said she was calling from Constellation Hospice, and could she come and speak to my students at one of my shares? And I went, all right, she knows the lingo. She knows about shares. She knows I have students. And I had her come, and she
Yeah.
shared, how good it is for people at end of life. And I thought about it myself, and I decided I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, I have another title, some end of life specialist, something because of the training you go through. And so I mostly see people in their homes that I go to and have had wonderful experiences. It's amazing. People who are afraid of it, and then they can't wait for you to keep coming because they just feel the peace, that it brings them. And I see family members very happy about the fact that their family, their loved one is receiving Reiki sessions
Oh,
and interesting conversations because you're not a family member and you're not a medical professional, so they can just talk to you and just talking to them about how they're doing, how they feel about things. It's great. It's wonderful. It's a blessing. It really is.
oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And unfortunately, we're out of time. I know we got a little bit of a late start
Um,
today, Maryann, but
you
let's
know.
remind everyone how they can reach out to you.
All right. So um, on the web, it's www.innerbalancereiki.com. If you want to contact me directly, you can email me at innerbalancereiki@att.net or 860-604-2807. Also on Facebook and Instagram, and I do sessions locally or remotely and
Oh,
as well as classes. So
thank you so much. InnerBalanceReiki.com. Thank you again for joining us. Don't forget, visit the website, and hopefully we will connect again soon.
thanks, Jill.
Thank you. And
Appreciate
thank you for my Reiki today. I appreciate it. I'll
You're
let you know how I'm
welcome.
feeling next time. All right. Thank you.
Sounds
My
good.
throat is feeling
Okay.
better.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.